My name's Eric Welander. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about home theater audio with HomePods. This is a really cool new thing that you might want to take advantage of. So there are two different HomePods right now for sale. Of course, the original HomePod full size that came out in 2018, and then the new HomePod Mini, which came out this year in 2020. And then one of the newest developments in the sort of HomePod world is that Apple came out with tvOS 14.2, and this allows you to do some really cool stuff with making HomePods be the audio output for your Apple TV audio. So I have both a stereo pair of full-size HomePods and a stereo pair of HomePod Minis, and I highly recommend those for listening to music and controlling your smart home with Siri. They're both really great, but I wanted to go ahead and set them up as audio for my TV and let you guys know how that process works and kind of break down what features you get with each one and whether it's something that's worth it for your setup. So setting up the full-size HomePods is very straightforward. Apple recommends that you want to keep them within 10 inches of the wall. That's about 25 centimeters. And then keep them apart by about 4 feet, which is 1.2 meters. So you want to get some good stereo separation, and I think also they're using the wall, in this case, sort of bounce sound off and create some of that surround sound effect without actually having surround sound speakers. Then just move that in the Apple Home app on your phone to the same room as the Apple TV that you want to pair it with. Now, once you do that, the Home app will intelligently realize that there's a stereo pair of HomePods and an Apple TV there, and it'll ask you, hey, do you want to make this your default audio output for your Apple TV? And if you say yes, then great, it'll set that up. Now, I had a little bit of a buggy experience here trying to move my stereo pair from my living room down to the basement. It kept jumping back to the living room, but after force quitting the Home app and just restarting my HomePods and the Apple TV, I was able to get it all working. So hopefully you won't hit those bugs, but I did want to call that out here. Now after that, if you want to manage this audio output, you go to the Settings app in the Apple TV and then to Video and Audio, and then you can choose your default audio output. So in there you'll see, of course, your TV speakers or really whatever sound system is hooked up to your TV, or then you can also choose, in this case, between that and your HomePods. Now, this isn't going to work for any of the other devices you have connected to your TV. This is just about audio coming from the Apple TV. One other cool feature of using the full-size HomePods with the Apple TV is that they support Dolby Atmos and Dolby Digital 5.1 and 7.1 sound standards. So this means that if you watch content that's been mastered with one of these sound standards and then you listen to it on your supported devices, you should theoretically get more of the sound that the creators intended for that content. So if you go like into your purchase movies in iTunes, if you do that, there'll be a little badge for either Dolby Vision, which is the visual part of that, and then also a badge for Dolby Atmos, which is the audio side of this Dolby standard. So what about the HomePod Mini? Now, the settings for working with HomePod Minis in Apple TV is a little bit different. What you'll need to do is when you're on your Apple TV, pull up Control Center, which is you get to by double-clicking the TV screen button on your Apple TV remote, and that'll come in from the side, and then you can go down to the AirPlay icon, select that, and then choose your HomePod Mini stereo pair as the output for the audio. From there, any content you play, the audio should come out through those HomePod Mini speakers. Now, this should theoretically work for a while as a persistent connection, but it's not going to be forever. So I wouldn't count on this being something that you're just having on all the time, this connection between HomePod Minis and Apple TV. It's more the kind of thing where you don't use it all the time, but when you have that occasional movie night, it's nice to be able to, connect that up so that you can have better sound for your movies. Now, that gets the bigger question about, is this worth it for your setup? Now for me, I'm gonna stick with my existing Sonos setup for my home theater audio. So I have a Sonos Beam soundbar, which retails for about $400. And then I have two rear channels, both Sonos One SL speakers, and those retail for about $180. So altogether, that's a $757 setup, which is a lot more money than a stereo pair of HomePods or HomePod Minis especially. But the thing is, I didn't buy that all at once. I bought a Sonos Beam in 2018, and then earlier this year, I upgraded to get the rear channels, both the 1SL speakers, and added those to my setup. And I knew going into buying the Sonos Beam that I have that option down the road if I wanted. So with the HomePods, a stereo pair of those retails for $600, which is pretty expensive. But I've frequently seen the HomePod on sale for around $200, like at Best Buy and some other retailers. So keep an eye out for that. And if you're able to snag a pair of HomePods for $400, or some way, maybe you already have one HomePod, you're just buying a second. If you're able to get into this setup for about $400-ish, then that really starts to change the equation, because I would say, as far as the sound quality, a pair of HomePods sounds way better than my Sonos Beam. Now, that said, once you add the rear channels, simple physics of having sound around you and just the way that Sonos system works together, it doesn't, it's still, that's way better in my opinion than a pair of HomePods. Those speakers are just in front of you. And of course, the other thing to repeatedly note is that it only works with the Apple TV audio. So if you watch, I like to watch YouTube from Chromecasting to my TV from my phone. That's not going to work with this kind of audio setup. You'd have to use the YouTube app on the Apple TV, or AirPlay it to your Apple TV, something like that, to get the audio to work through the HomePods. Now, what about the HomePod Mini at $200 for the retail full price of a stereo pair of these? It's a lot less expensive than a pair of full-size HomePods. Now, of course, the audio is not as amazing, and I'd say the comparison between those is pretty consistent with the comparison between mini and full-size HomePods that a bunch of reviewers have been doing all over the place these days. It's not as big of a sound. But again, with only being able to use AirPlay at this point for the audio output, so you're not able to have a persistent audio output from the Apple TV, it's more of a kind of hook up when you need it kind of scenario, I would say. But that said, it's still going to give you a major upgrade from the speakers built into your TV. So maybe consider using an Apple TV and connecting this up at some point, because it is a nice upgrade when you want it. But of course, it's not meant to be your always on speakers for the TV. So in general, who are any of these setups for? At first, when I heard about this, I thought the internet was crazy. I'm like, why are people so excited about this? It really doesn't make sense to me. But I think if you're a heavy Apple TV user, if that's really how you watch all of your content, maybe you have a game system that you use like a headset with or something else, but in general, all your content that you play audio through externally is going to be through the Apple TV, then that could work out really nicely. And maybe that's a secondary TV in your home, or a tertiary TV, whatever, something like that, where you can pair up these HomePods and get a huge upgrade from the built-in TV speakers, but then you also have in that same room, voice commands and all that other stuff with HomeKit, and just some nice speakers to play music to as well. And that gets to also another use case, which I think is just a small apartment where any bit of electronics is going to be taking up precious real estate. So you might not want to have a whole separate set of speakers for your TV and then the HomePods. So that could be another place where you want to kind of merge use cases of devices and just have these speakers that also work for your TV. But really, in general, I think most people should take the money they want to spend on this and go get a sound bar, maybe a woofer or some rear channels. Just getting a home theater setup that's really meant to hardwire to your TV and work with all kinds of devices, I think is going to be a lot better in the long run. And personally for me, I work with technology all day. When I sit down on my TV, I want to turn my brain off. I don't want to be thinking about all of this complex stuff. And I think that I just see AirPlay and all these other things, which are great technologies from Apple, but still it's just introducing a whole lot more variables to this chain of audio for your TV that I don't want to have to think about. I don't want to have to worry about, oh, is this on the Apple TV, or otherwise I won't be able to get audio through that. So should I play it through the Apple TV instead? Or, oh, that doesn't work, I got to restart it, all that stuff. I don't want to deal with it as much as possible. And so that's why I'd say get something dedicated for your TV audio. if that's what you want. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. It really does help the channel and help people find this video. And subscribe. There's a whole lot more stuff you can do with HomePods and smart homes and your smart home office setup, and we'll be talking all about that on this channel. So subscribe if you don't want to miss new videos. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.